I remember a college professor of mine one time say, there's only two ways to grow a business. One is to create demand for your goods or services, which could take time because you could have to change laws. You need to change people's perception and convince them to use you. The other way is to take it away from your competition. Which do you think is easier?
Okay, welcome to this episode of Thundercast. Today, starring Sal Kaludi of Fully Promoted Bedford, New Hampshire. Sal, how's it going?
Good, Doug. How are you?
Doing great. I'm going to start with this question because it fascinates me as to why people become entrepreneurs and go into business. What was the seminal event in your life that said, you know what, I'm not working for anyone anymore. I'm going to work for myself. Like, what was your thinking?
So, my background is I was in the rental car industry. When I graduated college in '91, I started with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and they were a great company to really start your career with, because they really teach you how to run a business as if you own it. I was with them for about 10 years, left the industry, and then got back into it after 9/11 with Hertz Rent-A-Car. And with Hertz, my task was really to go after Enterprise's market share. I was hired as the off-airport director for New England and upstate New York. So I was tasked with opening locations, hiring, training employees, and going after Enterprise's market share. Was with Hertz for a little over 10 years. Long story short, Hertz was bought and sold by used to be owned by Ford Motor Company. Ford sold them to a venture capitalist group, and then that venture capitalist group saddled Hertz with $8 billion worth of debt.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that happened in 2005, and the remaining time of my career with Hertz, the following 8 years is I went through a number of different rounds of layoffs, and the one in 2013 caught me. Where Hertz went from 11 regions down to 5. And
Wow.
everyone on the Northeast region staff got laid off. So at that point, I was in my early 40s, and I was like, I really don't want to work for another major company and have to go through that again. So decided that I wanted to go into business for myself. So my wife, Jen, and I sat down, put down a list of criteria of what we'd be interested in doing. Restaurants was not on the list because we know people that own restaurants, and you're just tied to that business 24/7.
Yep.
So as we were searching, company called United Franchise Group reached out to me, and they're the parent company of Fully Promoted and a number of different other franchises. So I had an opportunity to meet with their CEO, their senior management team, and kind of like the program with Fully Promoted. And one thing led to another, and we bought a franchise. We started out in Nashua in 2015. Then a year later, not even a year later, probably 7 months later, United Franchise Group reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in buying the existing Bedford store, which was an underperforming store. So my wife and I did our due diligence. We said this would be a good opportunity. It's going to be a little rough for a couple of years as we turn the place around, but we bought Bedford, and then we wound up actually consolidating Nashua and Bedford into Bedford because the two stores were very close to each other. They're literally 10 minutes off the Everett Turnpike. So it didn't make sense to have two full-blown brick and mortar stores that close to each other.
Right.
So in consolidating the both stores, it wound up saving us probably in the neighborhood of about between staff attrition, rent, and everything else, probably about $200,000 a year.
Wow. Wow. Right. So when you started your franchise, what was one of the biggest hurdles you had to overcome? Maybe it was unexpected, maybe you knew. Either way. Like you got started and you're like, holy crap, this is a problem. What was that and how did you overcome it?
I wouldn't say it was a problem, but knowing that going into it, you've got expenses right off the bat. You got rent due, you got your utilities, you've just hired, staff to be able to produce our products. And you don't have enough revenue just yet to soak up all those costs.
Right.
So one of the first things you realize is I need to get some revenue in this door to throw against those expenses and to start covering those expenses.
Right. I think that's pretty much the classic. But I'll say this is what I have to say about that, right? Because there's any time in your business, you're going to have a shortfall of cash. At some point, it's going to happen. It's going to be a cash flow issue. It's going to be unexpected expense, a fall off in purchasing, in orders. And for me, I will say, because it happens every now and then, I'll lose a big client, right? And I still have to make payroll. The one solution to all of that, and it doesn't mean that there isn't a way to go back and mitigate what happened and learn from the experience. But once you're there, once you need the money, there's only one solution. That's go out and make more money, right? Yeah. And so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And for me, the struggle was, how do I win new clients? And this is, I started at like the early 2000s, right? So there really wasn't a lot of information on the internet the way there is now. There wasn't a lot of collaboration, and it's still hard for my industry, right? And I think that for any business owner, right, you can have a plan laid out in front of you. You can have the money and you can know how you're going to afford things until your revenue comes in. But if you don't know how you're going to get your clients, right? I think that's the thing that people leave out. Sometimes people think the clients are just going to show up. And that may be true, like in the case of McDonald's, you put it out there, people are going to drive up. But that is rare. That is incredibly rare. You have to know how you're going to get your clients. And it's probably the most important thing. And it's the thing people focus on last. Because like, all right, I got my LLC, I got my insurance, I got my brick and mortar, I just hired some people. It's like we put the cart before the horse. You have to know where those clients are coming from.
So one of the things we did early on is right before we opened our doors, we joined a number of different chamber of commerces, and we started attending networks events even before we opened our doors. And look at what you think you want your niche to be, and then find associations associated with that niche. For example, one of the things we fell into early on was people that are in the trades, which kind of expanded to corporate business and everything else over the years. But we joined the New Hampshire Home Builders Association and started networking there. So again, find out what you are passionate about, the industries that you're passionate about, that you want to work with, and find associations or networking places to go and network yourself with them.
Right. So you're touching on all these good little nuggets here today. So when I look at how you built your business, because I remember when you bought it, like I had heard your name so often, like 5 years before I met you, 4 years before I met you. Like I just kept hearing it everywhere. And you just had this way of networking and getting your name out there. And you hired salespeople as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're given this other nugget, which is so true, is find your niche. Pick a niche. You can't be everything to everyone, right? Pick a niche and try and excel into that niche, and then add other niches. Yeah, I experienced something similar. All right, so because I think you have a lot more wisdom to offer than in a broader sense for marketing, I'm going to ask you questions on that. So would you say that in terms of what you do, is it more, would you say branding?
Correct.
As well as marketing?
Yeah, exactly. So, when you look at embroidery or screen printing, you're putting a company's logo on the apparel. And, when their employees are out and about, whether they're picking up supplies at Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere else, if they're going out shopping after work, when they go out to lunch, they're advertising the company that they work for by wearing that branded apparel.
Right, which leads me to my next question. So obviously this is your expertise. For the average company that's out there, whether they're business to consumer or business to business, how important is branding?
Branding is very important. That's how you get your message out there. People will ask, marketing, for example, what your return on investment is on marketing. And what I like to tell people is, when you're looking at marketing, what you want to look at and focus on is getting your name out there. This way, when somebody needs your goods or service, they think of you first. So, if people always ask, well, what's a good promotional product to give away? And I'll say, take a look at what's on your desk. Post-it notes, usually on somebody's desk, pens, a stapler, a calculator. All that stuff can be branded with your logo on it. And then your potential client is looking at that every day as they're working. So
Right.
when the opportunity arises and they all of a sudden now need your goods or services, they're going to remember you simply because they've been touching your pen for 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Right. And branding is one of those things that has it's a force multiplier over time. So if people are seeing the same thing year after year after year, like how do you quantify the return on investment if it's something that has a return every year over year, right?
Well, you got to look at your revenue growth year over year. You got to look at how people heard about you. We run a radio ad that's run twice in the morning during the morning commutes and one in the afternoon. And, it's kind of a cute ad, just call Sal. And, there isn't a week that goes by that someone doesn't come into my store or location and says, "Oh, I heard you on the radio."
I've heard it.
So that at that point that something that you're doing in the marketing realm is working.
So, all right, here's a loaded question because I think everyone would love the answer to this one. So everyone's supposed to have a marketing budget, right?
Yeah.
How much of someone's marketing budget or how much of their gross should go to apparel and branding?
It's going to depend on what they're looking for, what they're looking to accomplish. We do a lot of business with people that are in the trades, landscapers, HVAC companies, plumbers, contractors. And, that budget is going to depend on the number of staff they have, the type of product they're looking to get. So yeah, it's hard to quantify that number.
Right.
Typically people that are in the trades though, they'll buy from us twice a year. They'll buy in April, May timeframe. They're short sleeve t-shirts, baseball hats and stuff like that. And then as soon as the weather starts to turn in the end of September, October, they're going to start to buy their long sleeve t-shirts, their sweatshirts, their beanies, and get all that stuff branded, whether it be screen printed or embroidered, to get ready for their the fall and winter season.
What would you say, in terms of these companies that buy from you? Because you're not small. You're not. You're crushing it. And what would you say is the most popular item that you sell to your businesses?
It's going to be on the apparel side, t-shirts and sweatshirts. But we have access to almost 1 million different pieces of apparel and promotional products. We've got a database that's hooked up with all the major or actually all suppliers really, throughout the globe, where we have the ability to search those suppliers to find the right thing for our clients.
Do you notice, because I think of this all the time, right? Especially in my industry, it is incredibly difficult to win clients. It's the nature of my industry. It's like the same thing with with accountants, right? You don't see people with accountants running around with shirts with their names on it. And if you do, it's usually they give it out to their employees, but they never wear it, right? What is, in your opinion, the most effective use of apparel to gain new clients?
Wearing it.
Wearing it. So it would just be, hey, here's a shirt.
I'll give you an example. So I'm in BNI, Business Networking International, and in one of the chapters that I was in several years ago, the electrician in the chapter told a story that he was out. This was on a weekend, on a Saturday. He was at Home Depot getting stuff for a home project, his own home, and he was wearing his logoed apparel. And someone came up to him in the aisle in Home Depot and said, "Oh, you're an electrician. You do this?" And he's like, "Yeah. Give me one of your cards. I may have some work for you." So he gave the individual his card, thinking that probably nothing would come of it. 3 weeks later, he gets a $10,000 job.
Wow.
So that right there just tells you that, wearing your apparel, people will come up to you. You've got a pretty neat logo for your business.
Yeah.
And,
You guys,
it's probably, an attention getter, because people will look at it and then they'll probably take another look and it's like, wow, that's a pretty neat design. So it's a conversation starter.
right. Yeah, I would say so. I guess for me, the more I do this, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know the power of branding and apparel, right? But again, the more employees I hire and the more people who wear shirts, it happens all the time. Like my guy Nick is walking down the street with a shirt on with his wife after work one day, and people just stop him just to ask what he does because they love the logo.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got a catchy logo, catches someone's eye, it's colorful, it's an interesting design, people are going to say, "Hey, that's a pretty neat logo. What do you do?"
That's awesome. All right, we're definitely going to come back to this, but I want to ask you some more questions, more businessy questions, because you're one of the people that I really respect, especially given the industry you're in and how much you've grown it. What's the experience like being in a franchise and being a franchisor, right? So you pay, what does that mean, and what kind of services do you get from your franchise?
Well, one of the things that people need to realize when they buy into a franchise is they still, at the end of the day, have to make payroll, pay rent. You still own the business. And a lot of the misconception out there is, well, the franchisor is supposed to help me with getting revenue in the door. And that's not really the case. What they are good at, a franchise, or is they have a proven successful model. And if you follow their model, you can be successful because they've already tested it out. They've gone through the pitfalls early on. So following their playbook, let's call it, gives you a better chance to be successful. Now, we all know that a number of businesses fail within the first couple of years. Biggest portion of that, the failure rate, is cash flow. So, when you're opening up a business, regardless if it's a franchise or if you're an independent, you've got to make sure you're getting revenue in the door right from the get-go. Quickly grow your revenue, but watch your expenses, especially your staffing costs, because that's typically a business's largest expense. And if you let your expenses run away, you're going to be in a world of hurt very quickly.
Right. So I have so many questions, and we're definitely going to have you back. So would you recommend any franchise to someone, or do you think that some franchises are better than others? I mean, obviously you like Fully Promoted, you leverage that really well.
I think it really depends on the individual and what they're looking to do. And I would recommend to everybody that if they're interested in joining a franchise, do your homework. There's plenty of information online where you can chat with different owners of different franchises and, get their take, whether it be, like a Dunkin' Donuts franchise, a McDonald's franchise. And, obviously I'm looking at the two, mentioning the two larger ones, on the planet, which are very expensive to buy into these days. But there's plenty of other franchises out there, but it really depends on what you want to do. I mentioned earlier the criteria that my wife Jen and I put down, and one of the things is I didn't want to have to go to people's homes for our business. I wanted a location where people could come to us. Didn't really want to have to work weekends. So our model is really B2B. So that lends to, a Monday through Friday type of work environment. That's not to say we don't work on the weekends, because sometimes I'll be in here on a Saturday if we're busy and running the machines and doing some paperwork. But that's part of being an entrepreneur. I remember a college professor of mine one time say, there's only two ways to grow a business. One is to create demand for your goods or services, which could take time because you could have to change laws. You need to change people's perception and convince them to use you. The other way is to take it away from your competition. Which do you think is easier?
Take it away from your competition.
Right. All you have to do is provide that goods or services better than your competition. And one of the things we focus on a lot, and you got to truly believe in it, is customer service. And everybody is going to say, they provide great customer service. We actually will survey our customers every month. Everyone that did business with us the prior month will send a net promoter score survey. And for those of you that don't know what net promoter score is, it's taking that traditional question, are you completely satisfied, and taking it to the next level and asking the client, would you recommend a friend or a family member to, in this case, fully promoted? Now, by phrasing the question that way, you're now putting your reputation on the line if you're going to recommend a friend or a family member. Because if I fail as a business with the referral that you just gave me, that person is going to come back to you and say, what the hell are you doing recommending that business?
Right.
And the scoring is very stringent with Net Promoter Score. It's based on a 10-point scale. If someone grades you a 9 or a 10, you get 100 points. If they grade you a 7 or an 8, you get 0 points. If they grade you a 6 all the way down to 0, you get negative 100 points for each survey.
Wow.
Add up all those points and divide it by the number of surveys. So there's a number of companies out there that use Net Promoter Score as a way of measuring their customer service. And, companies like Hertz Rent-A-Car, companies like Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, number of organizations out there. And of all different business segments and industries, the average score is about a 55. And when you look at the way the scoring is, you say, okay, 55. Over the last 12 months, we're at a 94.
Wow.
And we've been doing this since we opened our doors. Our overall Net Promoter Score is a 78 since the beginning of time.
So you answered a question that I was going to ask, which was, what would be the one suggestion you would give businesses, right, to improve their success? Use the Net Promoter Score.
Yep. Because what you're doing right there is measuring how many of your clients are really now raving fans of your business. Because then they're going to go out and promote your business for you.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. So how does someone do this? Do they just do this themselves and assign the scores themselves?
It's not that hard. I mean, I use SurveyMonkey to put the survey together, and then Constant Contact to send it out to my clients. So it's really
Wow.
like a 15-minute process once a month.
I'm going to do it. I've been thinking of doing it. I've already talked to my guy. So we use Go High Level to manage a lot of our mailings and our newsletters. And the thing I like about Go High Level is you can create little funnels that are in there. That'll basically, here's a link, answer these questions, and you can put those computations in there. And so it'll
Yep.
just spit it out. So I'm
Yep.
going to do that. I'm going to do that because he's already started building it.
Good. Our survey, it usually takes, and SurveyMonkey measures this, it takes less than 2 minutes to complete the survey. And it's a 10-question survey. And it starts with the Net Promoter Score question. Would you recommend a friend or a family member to fully promoted? And then it goes to each touch point throughout the cycle when a client is dealing with us. So how was our customer service representatives? How was the quality of the product? Value for the money, timeliness of service. So each touch point within the cycle. So it gives me an opportunity to look at my business through my customer's eyes to see, okay, what are we doing well? Where are we deficient? What plans or what processes do we need to put in place to correct the deficiencies?
Wow. Wow. It's so powerful. I think it's one of the things that most business owners overlook, right? Is like how do we check in on our clients and what their experience is?
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, it's also another touch point where you're reaching out to your clients and reinforcing, kind of why they're using you.
Right. Right. I'm stealing that. Totally stealing that. Look at you just
That's fine. That
made a
works.
better businessman today, Sal. All right. So we are pretty close to 30 minutes in. So I guess, is there anything that you want to share about your experience as a business owner? Like perhaps maybe how it's forced you to grow as a person, as a human being dealing with customers and clients, or how it shaped your outlook on life?
Um, I've been in business ever since I graduated college, like I said, with Enterprise, with Hertz, being my own entrepreneur and running my own business. The biggest thing or difference between working for a Fortune 500 company and, running your business that way or running your own business is you don't have the big company behind you with the checkbook.
Right.
So you really need to look at and make sure that you're staying on top of your numbers, your profit and loss statement, looking at it on a regular basis, and understanding your P&L, and understanding what levers you need to pull from time to time to make adjustments, to make sure that you continue to be profitable. One of the things also is you never really want to have, having white elephants, large clients is great. If you lose a white elephant, you're in a world of hurt. So you never really want to have any one of your clients be more than 10% of your business. If they're more than 10% and you lose them, you're scrambling at that point to find that lost revenue or finding a way to cut costs quickly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's incredible wisdom. I've seen a lot of companies that are doing great, or at least the perception was they were doing great, and then they lose that one client that's 30-40% of their business, right? And that's obviously that's all their profit. That's paying 2 or 3 employees.
You have someone that's 40% of your revenue and you lose them, you're done.
Yep. I had a company years ago approach me about buying another firm in the same realm as me, and they had one client, and they wanted $500,000 for the company. And I was like, "There's just no way. There's just absolutely no way."
Yeah, that's suicide.
Right. And the guy, so it was a company that sells other companies, and the dog and pony show that the gentleman put on was extraordinary until I said, "All right, I need to see the client list." And he's like, "That's great, but there's only one on there." He's like, "That's the client list." And I'm like, "Hasta la vista."
Yeah, that's very risky.
Yeah. I did not opt to exercise that offer. with the same question I ask everybody. Why don't you give us a 10,000-foot view of your business and what it is you do?
Sure. So, business is fully promoted of Southern New Hampshire, and what we do is provide solutions, marketing solutions through branded apparel, promotional products, really anything that to help a business promote themselves, business or an organization promote themselves. What I like to tell my clients is, because everyone asks, what do you do? What products you provide? It's really easy for me to tell you the three things that we don't do. One being vehicle wraps, two being building signs, pylon signs, on the road. So those three things that we don't do, but we've partnered with local companies to provide that service. So again, it's really to help businesses promote themselves. And one of our taglines is, our business is to help you grow your business.
That's awesome. How long have you been in business for?
8 years.
Wow. Wow, you're killing it. But yeah, that's great. All right, let's close it out. But let's the last question. What is, if there's in your opinion, a secret sauce that maybe there's a thing that you do every month, every week, every day, that has you be successful, or something that you believe helps contribute significantly to your overall success, what would that be?
People ask me that question a lot. What's the magic bullet?
Right.
And there really isn't. There's a number of different things that you need to do to be successful. I'll give an example on growing the revenue side. We belong to a number of different chambers, BNI, other networking associations, and you've got to attend those networking events to get your name out there. Social media. You got to be, diligent on social media. Make sure you're posting. And even if you just post on your Facebook page, that's not enough, because unless someone goes to your business Facebook page, they're not going to see you. So you need to belong to different groups within Facebook, and then repost what you have on your page to those groups. That's how you're going to get the word out. Understanding your numbers, as I mentioned earlier, on your P&L, looking at your expenses. So there's a number of different things as a business owner that you need to be looking at. And, as a small business owner, you got to be wearing many different hats at different times of the day. Whether you got your sales hat on, your marketing hat, your finance hat, operations hat,
Right.
the janitor's hat. So there really isn't, there's no magic sauce or, a magic bullet that I could say this is the one thing you need to do to make sure you're successful. There's a lot of different things.
I think so. I asked that of a lot of business owners, and so everyone has their thing that they like, though. The thing that they discovered, or maybe that they feel that they invented, that really helped them propel them. You're right. All these things are absolutely necessary, and sometimes I get some great answers, but I think yours is equally valid, because there is no magic bullet.
One of the things I will tell business owners, there's going to be things that you like to do and things that you don't like to do. Of the things that you don't like to do, you're probably not going to do them. So hire someone to do those tasks.
Delegate.
Yep.
Delegate. We could have a whole meeting on how to appropriately delegate.
Could.
Podcast. Well, we'll definitely have you back. All right, so we will include Sal's email and his website and contact information at the bottom of this video. Please like and comment on the video for us. That helps out greatly. Sal, thank you so much for bringing the thunder today. Lots and lots and lots of introspective wisdom, and we're definitely going to have you back.
Well, thanks for having me on, Doug.
I'm glad you came. All right, we'll catch everyone on the next episode.